Hey y'all, it's Bear, and today I'm here to bring you my reading stats for the first 4 months of 2020. I follow a lot of people who do reoccurring stat videos, so rather than just talking about all of their stats at the end of the year, they'll talk about it on a monthly basis in their wrap-ups or on a quarterly basis. I think what's going to work for me is doing it every 4 months. I read 40 books in the first 4 months of the year. That's an average of 10 books a month, and my page count was 7,057 pages. The amount of novels I read was very small. Most of what I read were children's picture books and novellas and manga and poetry and comics and stuff. One of my goals for 2021 was to branch out of just reading novels so much and to read more poetry and graphic novels and comics and stuff like that. So while it does end up with a lower page count, I am still very satisfied with what I've read. I feel like I've consumed a lot of content in a lot of different mediums, so I think that's really cool. Now, on to star ratings. I do rate everything I read that is available on Goodreads. I would say that this first 4 month period has been very good. I've had 17 5-star books. I have had 11 4 stars, 9 3 stars, and 3 2 stars. A majority of authors that I read were primarily debut or new to me authors. I did do a couple of rereads for some of the Fear Street books here and there, some of the picture books from my childhood I reread, but for the most part, most of them were new to me authors. That's another thing I wanted to do as well. I tend to read within the same couple of authors, and I wanted to branch out and read more new to me authors. I wanted to read more debut authors, so that was something I also succeeded in the first 4 months. So my most read genre was horror, clearly, and my least read genre was erotica, which if you don't know that about me, I do like to read some erotica every now and then, but for the first 4 months, I've only read one erotica book, so I think my age ranges too have also been diversified a little bit. I have read mainly young adult in the past, but I feel like for this first 4 months, my adult and my young adult are pretty even, and then my middle grade is lacking a little bit. I have a lot of middle grade that I want to read that I'm planning on reading in the second 4 months of the year, so look out for that. Overall, I would say that this has been a pretty good 4 months. I'm pretty pleased with it. Now, I'm going to tell you about the most disappointing book that I have read in the first 4 months, and then we're going to end on a positive note, and I'm going to tell you about my 5 favorite books that I read. So this one really hurt because I wanted to enjoy it so much. It was a 5-star prediction for me, and it just didn't do it, and it was Final Girls by Riley Sager. This is an adult thriller that follows Quincy Carpenter, who was the survivor of this massacre in her college years. Basically, she has linked up with all of these other final girls from these horror movie-esque scenarios. So think if Sidney Prescott and that bitch from the first Friday the 13th film all started hanging out. And now all of the final girls are being picked off one by one. Fantastic premise. So my problems in this book were I think it just should have been written as a straight up horror novel. I think it would have been a lot better as a horror novel, and conceptually, it sounds like a horror over a thriller to me. However, out of what we got, I found all of the characters very unlikable. I don't have to like a character, right? I don't have to like a character in order to give a book a high rating. However, I do think that I have to be able to root for a character. If you're a shitty character, then I want you to be the shittiest fucking character. I want you to make me fucking hate you, but see where you're coming from and root for you. I could not root for anyone in this book at all. My other issue with this book was just the random anti-native stuff that was thrown in that I haven't seen anyone talk about, which doesn't surprise me because it was a couple of throwaway comments, but it still made me very uncomfortable. So it takes place in one of the flashback scenes where Quincy and her friends are hiking through the woods before they're getting killed, and a couple of the characters start making jokes about the land that they're on being Indian burial grounds, which I fucking hate. Leave an episode of the Dead Meat podcast linked down below that you can learn more about the problems with the Indian burial ground trope in horror fiction. It's very interesting. I highly recommend you check that out. And I understand that the Indian burial ground stuff is a trope. It's a thing in horror. I fucking hate it, but it's a thing. Then they continue to talk about how the girls in the group are fine because the only people that the Indians have a problem with are white men. Literally just cutting out those lines would not have changed the book one bit, and I just could not, in good faith, give this book higher than a 2-star rating. from all of the problems I had with it. Now, to end on a positive note, I'm going to be showing you the 5 books that were my favorites from this 4-month period. And these are also in no particular order. I just have a stack I'm going to grab. We have one of my most recent reads. I literally finished this one like this morning at 3 a.m. And that is She Drives Me Crazy by Kelly Quinlan. So in this we follow Scotty, whose ex is on the rival basketball team. She's still feeling things from the breakup. She's still dealing with like all of the emotions that come with that. And then one day while she's leaving a game, she backs into Irene Abraham's car. Irene Abraham is the mean cheerleader girl who has bullied Scotty in the past. Because Scotty doesn't really want to get Irene in trouble, she lies about them being friends, and then the two decide that while Irene's car is being prepared, that since they're friends, it won't be a problem for Scotty to give Irene a ride to school every morning. Then Scotty comes up with a plan to get back at her ex-girlfriend and help Irene win this student athlete award, and they decide that they're going to fake date. As you can guess, fake dating always turns into real dating, and I love this. I love the characters. The side characters were very memorable. I thought that the relationship, while very tropey, it's an enemies to lovers, fake dating. Like, do you expect this to not be super tropey and full of like 80s movie references? Because it was. I read this all in one sitting. I stayed up way past my bedtime to read it, and I gave it 5 stars. Then we have When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. This is a thriller about a woman named Sydney who was born and raised in Brooklyn and is currently dealing with the gentrification of her neighborhood as white people continue to move in and the black residents are moving out, mysteriously disappearing. She ends up kind of becoming friends with this new neighbor guy named Theo, whose wife is just like the biggest fucking bitch in the world, and they decide that they're going to start doing research for Sydney's new walking tour, where she will educate people about the history of the neighborhood. And while doing research for this walking tour, we start to figure out like that there's something more sinister going on beneath just the white residents moving in and the black residents moving out. The scene that terrified me the most in this book was the Uber driver scene. If you've read the book, you know what I'm talking about. Sydney was the character that you could root for, and even though I did see some things coming, I think that's just indicative of the fact that Alyssa Cole can write a thriller. Thrillers have to follow a setup and a plot, and the fact that Alyssa Cole can set up a plot twist so you can see what's coming means that she did her job. Alyssa Cole usually writes romance, which means that she's very good at writing emotions, which means that she's very good at writing some tension. So this book is full of that. Highly, highly recommend if you haven't checked out. So far, might be my favorite book of the year. Then we have a middle grade novel that I read for a vlog where I swapped lives with my friend Jocelyn from Yogi with a Book. I will leave it linked upstairs for you to go check out, and that is Eva Evergreen Semi-Magical Witch by Julie Ave. This is a fantasy middle grade novel that follows our main character Eva Evergreen, who is a witch who does not yet know how her powers work. So essentially the plot of this book is Eva going to this town where she will be stationed to help out the residents with her magic for a certain period of time. Eva gets into a whole lot of hijinks, a whole lot of fun, makes some friends, makes some kind of enemies, but there is this worst magical storm that the world has ever seen that's starting to brew, and with Eva being the only person who has magic in the town, has to figure out how her little kind of rinky-dinky repair magic is going to help save the town from this giant magical storm. Like I said, I vlogged my experience reading this book, so if you want my reactions, you can go check it upstairs. But right off the bat, I can tell you that if you want a cute magical middle grade, if you want themes of like coming into your own and feeling supported and loved by your friends and your family, or if you want like a cute little animal companion, this is the book for you. Go check it out. Moving on to another book that I read for a vlog, that is Lagoon by Nnedi Okorafor. This is an African futurism science fiction novel that takes place in Nigeria that is a first contact alien story. So we follow 3 people in here who have been selected by the aliens to be kind of the ambassadors of the first contact form, who are gonna get them in touch with the president so that the aliens can make their statement and be like, this is why we're here, this is what we're doing. I really appreciate the way that this book weaves not just science fiction, but also African spirituality. And there's a line in this book where someone says that the city is eating itself. That's something I mentioned in my vlog. I like to talk about how we would get along with the aliens and exist in harmony. This is a very realistic depiction of what would happen because the world kind of goes to shit and everyone loses their mind. I just loved this. I loved this. It hit that specific niche of book that I really enjoy, that's like ocean horror and ocean sci-fi. I definitely recommend this one, and go watch my Reading Like an Aries vlog if you want a more concise opinion about this. Now moving on to one of the more recent books that I have read, and the last book I'll be talking about in this video, we have Hide and Seeker by Daka Herman. This is a middle grade horror novel that follows Justin and his friends who go to their friend Z's welcome home party. Z's been missing for about a year now. Z starts telling them these weird rhymes about this thing that's gonna come and grab them and snatch them. They decide that they're gonna play hide and seek at his party. However, they break the rules, and this monster known as the Seeker is starting to suck Justin and his friends, all of the players, into their world. But this is just, it's kids doing what kids do best in middle grade novels. They're being smart, they're being resourceful, they're kicking monster butt. I really enjoyed this one. The monster kind of gave me like Nightmare on Elm Street Freddy Krueger vibes. So if you're looking for like a Freddy Krueger middle grade, I was just checking this out. I also really appreciated the inclusion of panic attacks and mental health problems because that's something the main character deals with. I really loved it. I thought it was fantastic, and it's one of the best middle grades, not just that I've read this year, but that I've ever read ever. I need this to be a film. Alright, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, let me know by subscribing and liking and hitting the bell and commenting and all of that shit. You can answer the comment question of the day, which today is going to be, what's the best book that you read from January to April? Let me know. Give me your recommendations. Let's have a good time. Let's gush about some stuff in the comments. If you've read any of the books that I mentioned in today's video, then let me know your thoughts on them down there as well, but try and keep them spoiler free because we don't want to spoil anyone who hasn't read the books. And if you don't have time, you don't have the spoon, you don't have an answer, you don't want to answer, then you can leave me an emoji, preferably a yellow heart, so I know you made it all the way until the end of the video, or a smiley face emoticon if you don't have access to emojis on your keyboard. All of my social media links will be in the downstairs, so go check that out. It's in the link tree at the top of my description. You can follow me around the internet on my Instagram, my Goodreads, my Twitter, my TikTok, my Facebook page, as well as places you can support me further if you so choose outside of YouTube, like my PayPal, my Coffee, or my Amazon wishlist, which all goes back to supporting the channel. Alright, I hope you have a wonderful whatever it is, wherever you are. I'll see you next time in another video. Thank you for watching. Okay, cool. Bye.